Good afternoon, everyone. Merch Hunter Ricky here, and we are getting started right away with 3 more devil fruits on the ongoing series of powerful devil fruit ideas. This one, I believe, is episode 9. Could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it's 9. So let's go ahead and start with number 1, the grip fruit. Now, I use Zangief in the thumbnail, the wrestler from Street Fighter, because he's pretty much like Mr. Grip Strength, in my opinion. He has what I believe to be the best grapples around, and to make full use of this fruit, part of your fighting style should, contain wrestling. So right away, the grip fruit is a paramecia that uses incredible grip strength to bestow its devil fruit holder with, or user with, the ability to do things like climb on walls. Like, you just have to grip the wall, like you can grip it and climb up. Your fingers aren't necessarily like sticky hands, but in a way they are. They're just not literally sticky. It's just that, like, even if it's a flat surface, you can pull it and grip it, and ow. And you can do the same thing with your feet, like your toes, like creepy grip, and basically that's like the smallest and easiest application of this fruit to use. Just the basic ability to grip things, climb up them, keep them held onto, or something simple like taking a rock, gripping it so hard that you crush it. Simple things like that. When you start to use more advanced applications of the fruit, I've branched out in multiple different paths. So for the first one is, like, if you're like a weak person who is like a mismatch for this devil fruit, and you're really only making use of like the gripping capability of like flat surfaces and things of that nature. So it's a good devil fruit for the average person, but to make them stand out amongst the crowd, they would need to do things like probably get a weapon to pair with their devil fruit, because the ability to just solely grip things is not the best. And this devil fruit is specifically designed to not be like a super powerful, I know it's called powerful devil fruit ideas, but it's not going to be an amazing powerful devil fruit. This is just one of those ones that someone wanted grip strength, right? So you're picking a weapon and you want to use maybe like a sword, because that's a very typical weapon seen in the One Piece world, or maybe like a spear, or 2 shields, 2 gauntlets. And what you'll want to be making use of is obviously close-handed, close hand combat, close quarters combat, all that good stuff. The main focus of your devil fruit should be to grab your opponent, obviously. Even if you are a very weak person, you are still a devil fruit user. So once you establish the grip on them, like, you're not breaking it. And that's really the magic of this power, is that being able to have a basic unbreakable grip would be like your, like, how Luffy just runs around stretching, or how Robin always just creates like a bunch of little limbs. Those are like their basic uses of their devil fruit, right? Chopper has like a little bit of an advanced devil fruit thing going on, so we're not going to compare him. But since Luffy and Robin, for the most part, are considered paramecia, and we know the secret about Luffy and all that, but let's not go into that. We don't need to. A paramecia devil fruit user always has their like basic usage of the power. So that would be gripping things. Taking it further, you would be able to like start like a weapon clash with like a sword or a spear or a shield even, and you're probably going to be the one to come out on top unless your opponent just has like super strength or super hockey or both. But you'll be able to do things like if you grab your opponent's weapon, right, and you just rip it out of their hands, it's not even going to be a contest of strength. Your grip does not break. If they have grip that breaks, you win automatically. So if you are someone a little bit above the bracket of regular strength people, right, and this could be someone as simple as Usopp, because although contrary to popular belief, Usopp might not have super strength, he's got ridiculous durability. So something Usopp could do with this fruit, for example, is, although he wouldn't be picking people up and chucking them, he could get in a headlock and keep his grip like this, and they're going that, like, that person is going to faint. That person's going to pass out. That person's not going to last long. And that's just, a very minor application of the fruit. Now, going further, taking armament hockey into the equation, or even Tekai, or any of the 6 powers, but armament hockey and Tekai, right? So if you use armament hockey with this fruit, and let's say you pick up a sword, armament hockey, and do increased grip strength, and you go to hit someone, for the most part, I feel like although you don't have super strength, you are still going to be bonking them super hard, slashing them super hard. Whatever your weapon implement is, you are going to be doing it way more effectively because you're going to have an increased strength on your follow through, which does matter when it comes to any type of stance-based fighting, right? You want to get back into your stance as fast as possible, but you also want to maximize the movement you do in said stance. Now, let's say you are an amazing person that was gifted with strength. You're so good at hockey. You know the 6 powers. You're a CP0 member, a CP9 member, what have you. And your fighting style is wrestling. You sought out this devil fruit, Blackbeard style, and you know that this is the devil fruit meant for you. And oh man, finally the day comes. You get the devil fruit. You're super happy. You're super hype. Now, a wrestler with the grip fruit, without hockey, without the 6 powers, is going to be an absolute menace. Picking someone up and putting them in like a master lock, like a full Nelson, you know, like you get your hands over their shoulders and you apply the pressure here at the back of the head, your grip doesn't break. They're done. Or, you know, doing a suplex with unbreakable grip. You can just Brock Lesnar takes people to Suplex City. You're going to take them to Suplex Universe. Just straight up, back-to-back suplex. Your grip is unwavering. You're going to wait till they straight pass out, faint, or are knocked out, right? Another way to implement this fruit, and it's kind of like a off the beaten path type deal. Like, I don't know if this would work. Like, I don't know if the fruit would allow this, but let's say you awaken the fruit. Instead of passing grip off to like a surface so that anyone can grip it, I feel like that's fine, but I feel like the fruit should have like a more adverse effect on you as opposed to the environment, since that's kind of like how other devil fruits who have awakened that are not generator paramecias, it like allows them to create adverse effects. So instead of having just increased grip strength, I feel like it would allow you to increase the size of your hand proportional to what you're gripping, kind of like how Charlotte Smoothie with the ring fruit grabs people on her hand because of her devil fruit, gets gigantic and like rings them out, right? Or she can just touch them and it automatically rings them. But there's like 2 ways she's been shown using that devil fruit. So I feel like you as an awakened grip user would be able to like grip, like increase your hand size to grip objects of greater size and be able to just straight throw them. You wouldn't be able to like grip a mountain per se unless you were just that guy. But I feel like as an awakened user, it would allow you to start doing crazier things, grabbing gigantic poles, something the size of, I don't know, maybe like a small pirate ship and like I'm talking like the second one that the Straw Hats had, where like they were barely enough space for them to fit on just the top of it, you know? Like where before the Mary, like Luffy and Zoro and Nami stole like that little mini ship and they arrived on Syrup Village, like something like that. You could probably pick up the back of that like while gripping it and just like chuck it forward or crush it in your grip. Stuff like that, you know? You would easily be able to pull a Gear 5th Luffy and grip Kaido and squeeze him out of commission. And that's what I think for this fruit, especially if, you know, it's such a niche fruit that you would need to be something like a wrestler or someone who just knows a little bit more about grappling technicalities, because you would be making the most out of that fruit with an unbreakable grip fighting style. Like, it wouldn't be enough to just hold someone and whip them around, because people in One Piece are kind of stronger than that, right? You would need to start maximizing it at the most like min-max level possible, because that's just kind of like how One Piece works. And that was the grip fruit. Now this next one is a Logia type, and admittedly I am not too comfortable making Logia types yet. I'm not that good at it, but I'm getting there. So this one I thought of, a naturally occurring substance that this world cannot really function without: salt. Now there are many types of salt, but they basically all boil down from the same type of rock salt that starts off in the ocean. It is then mined and brought up to us, crushed, and that's pretty much where we get our little salt runoff, a little condiment that makes everything better, right? So I feel like as a salt Logia, you could probably do something that I haven't seen any other Logia do. So there's like the two types of intangibility for Logias. There's the Aokiji type where he becomes ice and you get frozen for touching him, or there's the every other type of Logia type where they just kind of like dissipate into their respective element. Even Katakuri was doing this with his special paramecia, using life return in tandem with paper art fold. You know, the two, basically like the secret art of people who just are completely in control of their body in tandem with a 6 power, one of the Rokushiki techniques that allows you to thin your body out. He basically achieved a Logia style effect doing that. As the salt fruit user, since you come both as a powder form and a rock form. So you could do your rock salt hardness, and like a rock salt table at the bottom of a lake, for example, could be anywhere between like 1 to like 100 meters thick. Like those things are no joke. So I feel like you could start increasing your thickness of your rock table, and that would make you undeniably hard. You know, obviously, you know, people with super strength in hockey, they're gonna come after you, and they might be able to get past it. But, you know, a Logia typically encounters everyone else before they encounter a hockey master or devil fruit user that can contend with them, right? So you might be able to pull a crocodile in Alabasta with this, because you can also dissipate into little salt crystals, or, you know, just straight up very, very finely ground salt. And both of those would lead to very funny salt-based puns like heavy assault, right? Where you just drop down rock salt, salt crystal, and finely ground coarse salt. Just, you know, obviously if you shoot a lot of salt into someone's mouth, you can probably cause some crazy unhealthy issues to them. But also being able to whip away from them as like, you know, like finely ground salt and then reform somewhere else is, you know, we see that power being used with Crocodile, so we know how good that is. Even NL, when he was intangible, we saw how good that is. You know, Ace as well, when Van Auger shot him on Bonnaroo Island, just dunk, it went right through his body. Smoker as well. But since you're salt, you are still, you know, a little bit susceptible, like Crocodile susceptible to water. It's like a super weakness for you. It's not just be dunking in the water and you're out of commission. No, it's like a little bit gets on you and you're going to start to clump up real quick, and that's not going to bode well for you. But so many applications of this, like you could basically be like a salt mancer and like pick up, you know, make a salt sword, make a salt building, make a gigantic salt version of you and stomp people with them. That way, you know, you could do that while also still being in like your rock salt form. And a lot of people would have to do beyond the regular capabilities of a pirate crew to stop you. Like I said, they would have to know about your water weakness, and they would also have to have hockey and or devil fruit, or, you know, above average strength like Zoro, you know, things like that nature, because cutting salt just doesn't, it's not going to be enough to stop you, because your finely ground salt particles are still under your control. And then, you know, you can make little salt daggers out of the salt crystals and just throw them at people. You would do things like stop Aokiji real quick by using the harder type of rock salt. And although there's other types of salt in the world, I think you would have to be relegated to just like halite, and I think that's what it is, and, you know, like the salt that is found in the ocean. I don't know if you'd be able to just, you know, like, I'm pink healthy salt or whatever those weird lamps found at your local Home Depot or hardware store do. I don't know if you'd be able to do that, maybe with an awakening or something, right? It's like how a viewer of mine, also a friend of mine, he suggested that I do the Aurora fruit for light, but, you know, it hasn't been shown yet that, what's his name? The yellow guy, Kizaru, uses illusions to fight. But can he do that? Is that in the realm of his power? And if it is, would the Aurora fruit be a light-based Logia that's just weaker? Because when you look up that kind of stuff, all types of different science comes into play. That's why when I said for the salt, you know, you can be the rock form and then you can control your grains, or you wouldn't be able to maintain rock form if you're like in grain form. Like Pika, for example, you know, he has his rock form only, that's what his power is, and Crocodile only is sand, right? But you're like a healthy fusion of both. which makes the salt Logia a very dangerous Logia to contend with. I don't think you'd be able to do stuff like Crocodile's Desert Spada, for example, and I'm not sure if you would have to watch like the salt content in your body, although you are like salt through and through, so maybe you would be like, that wouldn't bother you. Maybe you could eat crazy amounts of salt. Maybe you would crave salt, right? This fruit is awesome, and it's definitely not, like, I thought of it and then I did a lot of research, and tons of people have suggested a salt Logia. So I can't really say that it's my original idea. It's an idea I came up with, then I found that everybody's been using this for their D&D campaigns since like 2008. So I can't, you know what I mean? I'm not going to take full credit for it. I literally did not see a grip fruit, or most of the devil fruits that come on my list. I typically don't find them on forums and the fake devil fruit encyclopedia that exists on the internet. But that's been the salt Logia. Let me know if you have any suggestions for it. You know, we don't know how Logia's awakened yet, but this one I feel like would be quite devastating if it's the theorized change your environment to your element. Nobody wants a whole salty environment. We see what happens back in the wartime when people would salt the earth. They would literally ruin the ground and crops for years to come. So a salt person doing that with a Logia power sounds crazy. The salt Logia, everybody. And next is kind of just a goofy fruit that I came up with because I've been watching and reading a lot of Whole Cake Island again recently in my spare time, and I always get shocked at how many food devil fruits Big Mom was able to just corral under her kingdom. Like, how is that possible, right? So one that I wanted to be there, but we got kind of in the form of katakuri, but I want this one to be like a yeast or egg, you know, yeast dough with eggs in it and all that good stuff. Just straight up the Dodo fruit. This one is completely uncooked, just dough. You have the ability to have maybe like someone like an oven or an ace or a sabo come up to you and heat up your dough as you shoot it out and stuff. Generator style paramecia for the Dodo fruit. I like this one because I feel like you can do hilarious things like make like a dough whip and wrap it around your opponent, because I don't think you'd get much out of like smacking them with it. You'd have to make like a large, like it would be like a belt more than a whip, right? Like maybe even a club. Like you take your dough and just stretch it down and hit them with it and bring it back, because if your dough breaks, then it's gonna just go flying. Maybe that's your intent, right? Other things you can do with it is make like little dough cakes, like how like, you know, like a dough ball right before pizza is formed. It's like in a dough ball and you gotta stretch it out, flip it all in the air and stuff like that. You can make tons of those and just start throwing them at people like a dough disc. If it gets stuck on them, you know, then you do your like dough arm and just bring them back to you and just beat the crap out of them with your dough body. You know, obviously you would be, I mean, I wouldn't say immune to damage, but you see how big of a beating dough can take. It just absorbs the blow as you do it. You know what I mean? Like the effort it takes for an unseasoned person to make a pizza out of some nice fresh dough is not as easy as someone who knows how to work dough and has like the muscles in their fingers. I used to work at a pizza shop. That's where I met my wife and all that. But like when you see a dough master just go in there and like really abuse that dough and turn it into pizza, you can tell that it's like their muscles in their fingers and wrists and forearms that allow them to go that fast with it. So if you're generating an obscene amount of dough on your opponent, kind of like Mr. 3, katakuri, you know, you can just, you'll be able to like stick it to them much. I think katakuri had like sticky dough, right? And if not, he was using like dough, like mochi spikes to stick Luffy to him. But anyways, like you stick them to you, bring them in the air and smack them down, kind of like how Mucus Man from Dressrosa, Treble, right? You can do stuff like that, but you know, mucus is probably stronger than dough. I feel like dough has like a defined breaking point of just a couple pounds. So you would have to be a strong user, a strong-willed user that is, especially when Haki and Tekai and the rest of the 6 powers come into play. You might be immune to finger gun altogether, right? Because you can just turn your body into dough. And if you can't, you can only generate it, well, then you're probably kind of screwed. But you can make like a dough armor around yourself, and depending on how thick it is, it's not getting pierced by just a regular finger. So even if it's Rob Lucci doing finger pists on you, he's got to get through all that dough, and it's going to stop his fist at some point. And it will soften the blow. It might not save you from taking damage, but it will definitely soften the blow. And then you stick him in the dough, and he can't move. and then you just generate some dough arms and lift him up and smack him down like a pizza. I mean, like the whip effect of dough is crazy when you watch it. And I feel like just starting off with just that alone is able to contend with most people, let alone where your devil fruit expression and creativity lead you. Because, obviously, if Luffy had Katakuri's mochi fruit, things would be different. He wouldn't be... I feel like he wouldn't have come up with, like, the mochi donuts, right? Luffy would just be still stretching and stuff and doing goofy things like making or mochi constructs of himself, Imagine if Mr. 3, right, had Katakuri's fruit. He would probably be completely unchanged. Because Mr. 3's like an artsy person. He's kind of not really like a combatant. He'd be making mochi keys. Maybe you might not be able to turn it and use it as a key, but that's what Mr. 3 would be doing. I genuinely don't think he would use it as effectively as Katakuri did, right? It was perfect that he got the wax fruit. So obviously someone from Big Mom's area, Whole Cake Island and the whole Tado land, you get like a nice baker that's so good at like stretching dough out and knows how to stretch it to where it doesn't break. Or like maybe he carries flour with him to keep the dough good and not sticky, and you just use it as like dough bats, dough clubs. You're not making a sharp object out of dough, right? Maybe not unless you're using hockey. But I feel like just being able to make a dough armor on yourself and create, like dough whips to hit people with. You kind of would be like Wanze from Water 7 on the Sea Train. And although that's not the coolest analogy, anyone that's not Wanze is probably infinitely cooler than him. So you're probably in a lot stronger area of using this devil fruit than he was using his nose ramen. Ew. Just thinking of him is like frightening. But I really enjoy this fruit because it's wacky and it's One Piece. So who's to say that the person using it, like one of you guys maybe too, will think of something better in the comments. Because, I've basically only suggested like 2 or 3 things. Like you stack a bunch of dough, you can whip it around, and you can make armor with it, right? Who knows? Maybe you carry like a flame with you like Mr. 3 and somehow bake the dough immediately, make like a baguette and whack someone with it. Stale bread! Bonk! Something corny like that, right? But I feel like if you're a Mr. 3 style devil fruit user where you're just generating, you would know what to do with the dough better than most people, right? I don't know if like forcing someone to consume your dough, like with the salt Logia, it'd probably be really easy. You just fling it through the air, and if you catch them slipping, it's going in their mouth. They might get like a salt overload and vomit, right? I don't know how you would force someone to just eat your dough. Like you would maybe be able to get it, but they'd be able to see it coming, so they'd at least be able to close their mouth, because dough is huge, right? Especially if you're like a big dough man flinging it at them, like what are you gonna do? Like, say ah! I don't think that's gonna work. But I do like that you can probably make like a dough colossus for yourself and go in and pilot it, tell it what to do, not bring it to life like the new guy who's using clay or whatever. But I feel like being able to just like, I don't know, like make giant dough boots for yourself and like maybe like dough gauntlets and like hit someone and stick them to you and just like keep them in your area, it'd be funny. And it's kind of like what the grip fruit does, except you're a dough person generating limitless supplies of dough as long as your body has the energy to do so. And in Awakening, I think it's cut and dry. You turn the area around you to dough, and that is just devastating in and of itself, because turning a house to dough, maybe while it's on fire, and you turn it into a nice little bread house or something, or just, someone's hiding behind a wall, you turn the wall to dough and it just like slurps downwards. Or, you turn it to dough, it stands there, but you use your dough arm and bring it back to you, because, dough always sticks to each other. You're gonna be doing crazy things with it. And I just like that idea. Like you take a giant chunk of dough and just like whip it out and bring something back, kind of like a sticky hand. I just feel like that's what dough does, and that's, most devil fruits have like their one use purpose, right? Like everyone says Luffy's got all these powers, like no the F he doesn't. His power is stretching up until a certain point in Wano, and then you see the secret of his power, right? And even then, it's still just stretching. He's using it to the max ability of someone who can stretch. But Luffy is just stretching. He does not make rubber. He does not make rubber constructs. He just stretches. And he's just really good at stretching, right? When he uses Gear 4, Gear 3rd, and all that, like, he's just stretching still. He's stretching his bone, he's stretching his muscle. So for you as the dough person, you're generating dough, and you're using it to make all sorts of weird dough constructs and then whip them together and stick them to your enemy and use it to, like, flatten them, which is ironic as hell, considering dough's main purpose is to be flattened into something edible. Instead, you're flattening your enemy into something defeatable. And I think that's just really hilarious. And it would have been awesome on Whole Cake Island. Like, mochi in a way is dough, but it's like, you know, like sugar, rice, I think, like some sort of weird like candy dough. But it's not like a yeast and eggy flour dough. But yeah, that's been the Dodo fruit. I'm really hungry now. I'm gonna go make some croissants. Have a good day, everyone. I've been Merch Hunter Ricky. Thank you for watching my nonsensical devil fruit videos, and have a good one.